Hello, and welcome back to the Everyday English Podcast. I am so happy you are joining us for another session of listening practice, vocabulary building, and real-life conversation. If you are new here, my name is Alice, and this is the place where we help you live your daily life in English. We don't just teach you textbook grammar, we teach you the English you actually need for your job, your travels, and your relationships. Today, we have a very special and honestly a very necessary topic. Have you ever been in an important meeting, perhaps on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and suddenly everything stops? The screen freezes, the voices sound like robots, you start panicking, you shout, "Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?" It is a nightmare.
Oh, I know that feeling very well, Alice. Hi everyone, I'm Mark. I think that is the modern nightmare for anyone working in an office today. You know, we recently watched a video about computer viruses and computers crashing, but I think the internet connection problem is actually more common than a virus. It happens almost every day. And the worst part is the embarrassment. You want to look professional, you want to look smart, but you are just sitting there shouting at a blank screen.
Exactly, Mark. That is exactly why we are making this episode. We want to give our listeners the bad connection survival guide. We are going to move beyond just saying Hello, and welcome back to the Everyday English Podcast. I am so happy you are joining us for another session of listening practice, vocabulary building, and real-life conversation. If you are new here, my name is Alice, and this is the place where we help you live your daily life in English. We don't just teach you textbook grammar, we teach you the English you actually need for your job, your travels, and your relationships. Today, we have a very special and honestly a very necessary topic. Have you ever been in an important meeting, perhaps on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and suddenly everything stops? The screen freezes, the voices sound like robots, you start panicking, you shout, "Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?" It is a nightmare.
Oh, I know that feeling very well, Alice. Hi everyone, I'm Mark. I think that is the modern nightmare for anyone working in an office today. You know, we recently watched a video about computer viruses and computers crashing, but I think the internet connection problem is actually more common than a virus. It happens almost every day. And the worst part is the embarrassment. You want to look professional, you want to look smart, but you are just sitting there shouting at a blank screen.
Exactly, Mark. That is exactly why we are making this episode. We want to give our listeners the bad connection survival guide. We are going to move beyond just saying, "My internet is bad." We are going to teach you the specific professional vocabulary to describe exactly what is happening. We will cover audio problems, video problems, and the polite phrases you can use to interrupt a meeting and fix the issue without looking unprofessional. This is going to be so useful. I think a lot of our listeners know the basic words, but they might struggle with the specific verbs and adjectives we use for technology. For example, do we say the video is stopped or the video is frozen? Do we say the audio is bad or the audio is choppy? There are subtle differences that make you sound much more fluent. Right, and getting these small details correct helps you take control of the situation. Instead of panicking, you can calmly explain the technical difficulty and suggest a solution. So Mark, let's start with the most obvious sign of a bad connection, the audio. When you are talking to someone and their voice isn't coming through clearly, what is the first thing we usually notice?
Well, usually parts of the words are missing. You can hear a little bit, then silence, then a little bit more. It sounds like the connection is being cut into pieces with a knife.
That is a great description, and that leads us to our first key vocabulary word, choppy. C-H-O-P-P-Y, choppy. If you say, "I'm sorry, your audio is choppy," it means exactly what Mark just described. The sound is not smooth, it is cutting in and out. Think of the ocean when it is windy. We say the water is choppy. It's rough and uneven. It is the same for sound.
I use that word all the time. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but you're a little choppy. It's a very natural, slightly casual way to tell someone there's a problem. But Alice, is there a phrasal verb we can use here? I feel like native speakers love using phrasal verbs for tech problems.
Oh, absolutely. The best phrasal verb for this situation is breaking up. You are breaking up. Now, usually, break up is sad. It means ending a romantic relationship. If I say, Mark and I broke up, it means we are no longer dating. But in the context of a phone call or a video call, breaking up means the signal is weak and the audio is incomplete. That is such an important distinction. Context is everything in English. If you tell your boss you are breaking up, don't worry, you aren't firing him or ending your friendship. You are just telling him his microphone signal is inconsistent. So we have choppy and breaking up. What about when the voice sounds strange? You know, when the internet is slow and the person sounds like a machine. Yes, that digital distortion. We often call that a robotic voice, or simply say, you sound like a robot. It sounds funny, but it is actually the most common way to describe it, even in a professional business meeting. You can say, I'm afraid the connection is poor. You sound a bit like a robot. It's polite because you are blaming the technology, not the person.
That is a good tip. Blame the technology. It takes the pressure off the speaker. Okay, so that covers the audio issues. You're breaking up, the audio is choppy, and you sound like a robot. But what about the visual side? What happens when the image stops moving?
This is where we need to be careful with our grammar. The word we use is freeze, like ice, but English learners often mix up the adjective and the verb forms here. I hear many students say, my screen is freeze. That is incorrect. Mark, can you explain the grammar behind this?
Sure. So freeze is the verb. Froze is the past tense. Frozen is the adjective or the past participle. If you are describing the state of the screen right now, you need the adjective. The screen is frozen. You are using the verb to be plus the adjective frozen. You are frozen. The image is frozen.
Perfect. And if you want to use the verb to describe the action that just happened, you would use the past tense. My computer froze, or the screen just froze. Do you see the difference? It is frozen describes the condition. It froze describes the event.
That is really clear. So avoid saying it is freeze. That hurts my ears a little bit. Stick to it is frozen. Now, Alice, sometimes the picture isn't frozen, but it's just slow, you know? I move my hand and then 2 seconds later, you see my hand move on the screen. The audio and the video don't match.
Ah, yes, the dreaded lag. L-A-G. Lag. Lag is a noun and a verb. It means a delay between the action and the result. If you are playing a video game, you hate lag. In a meeting, lag is very confusing because people end up interrupting each other. You might say, I think there is a bit of a lag on the line, or I'm experiencing some lag.
There is a lag. That is a great phrase. It's very neutral. It's just a fact. Sorry, I think there's a lag. Go ahead. It gives permission for the other person to keep speaking despite the awkward silence.
Exactly. And speaking of go ahead, that is a wonderful phrase to use when you accidentally interrupt someone because of the lag. If you both start talking at the same time, just stop, smile, and say, sorry, go ahead. It is polite and clears up the confusion immediately.
So we have choppy audio, frozen video, and lag. These are the problems. But our listeners want solutions. They want to know what to do. If I am in a meeting with a client and things start acting up, there's that phrase from the anchor video, acting up. What should I say? I can't just sit there.
Right. You need a strategy. And the most common strategy involves a word called bandwidth. B-A-N-D-W-I-D-T-H. Bandwidth. Mark, how would you explain bandwidth to someone who isn't a computer expert?
Imagine a water pipe. The pipe has a certain size. Only a certain amount of water can flow through it at one time. If you try to push too much water through, it gets stuck or moves slowly. Your internet connection is the pipe. The data, the video and audio, is the water. Bandwidth is the size of the pipe. If you have low bandwidth, you can't send a lot of data.
That is a perfect analogy. Video takes up a lot of space in the pipe. Audio takes up very little space. So if your connection is bad, the professional solution is to stop sending the video so that the audio can get through clearly. We call this saving bandwidth.
Saving bandwidth. I like that. It sounds like you are being efficient. So what is the polite sentence I can use to tell my boss I am turning off my camera? Because simply disappearing can seem rude if you don't explain it.
Here is a script you can memorize. Write this down if you can. You can say, I am having some connection issues, so I am going to turn off my camera to save bandwidth. Let's repeat that slowly. I am having some connection issues, so I am going to turn off my camera to save bandwidth. That is excellent. It sounds very professional. You aren't just hiding, you are taking an action to improve the meeting quality, to save bandwidth. It shows you understand how the technology works. Yes, and once you turn off the camera, you can ask, is the audio any better now? Usually it will be. It's a great quick fix. But Mark, sometimes turning off the camera isn't enough. Sometimes the internet is just terrible, or the program crashes completely. What do we do then?
Then you have to leave and come back, but we have specific phrasal verbs for this too. We don't usually say, I will leave the meeting and enter the meeting again. It sounds a bit robotic. We usually use log out and log back in. Or if you are clicking a link, we might say drop off and rejoin.
Log out and log back in are the standard terms for software. I'm going to log out and log back in to see if that fixes it. But here's another great phrasal verb that happens to you. Sometimes you don't choose to leave. The internet pushes you out. We say, I got kicked out.
I got kicked out. It sounds aggressive, like a bouncer at a club throwing you out the door. But yes, we use it for Zoom meetings too. Sorry I'm late, Zoom kicked me out. It means the program closed unexpectedly or the connection failed and removed you from the room.
It implies it wasn't your fault. I got kicked out is passive. The technology did it to you. If you need to reconnect using your phone because your computer internet is dead, we use the phrase dial in. This comes from the old days of telephones with dials, but we still use it for modern conference calls. I'm going to dial in on my phone.
So putting it all together, you might say, my computer connection is unstable. I'm going to drop off and dial in from my phone. That is a very clear plan of action. Everyone knows what you are doing and they will wait for you.
Exactly. You are communicating the problem and the solution in one sentence. Now, Mark, I think the best way to really learn this is to hear it in action. Let's do a role play.
I love a good role play. Okay, let's set the scene. We are in a team meeting. I will be the manager, and Alice, you are the employee giving a presentation. But unfortunately for you, your internet is having a very bad day.
Okay, I am ready. I will try to act out the glitches. Listeners, pay attention to the vocabulary we just discussed. Choppy, frozen, lag, and bandwidth. Here we go.
Okay, everyone, thank you for joining. Alice, I know you have prepared the quarterly report for us. Are you ready to share your screen and start?
Yes, absolutely. Can everyone see my screen? I want to show the numbers.
Alice, sorry to interrupt, but you are breaking up a little bit. We missed that last sentence.
Oh, is this better? Can hear me?
Actually, no. You sound a bit like a robot, and your video is frozen on my end. Is it frozen for everyone else?
Yeah, Alice, I think there is a significant lag. I am so sorry. My internet has been acting up all morning. Let me try something. I am going to turn off my camera to save bandwidth. 1 second. Okay, camera is off. Is the audio any clearer now? That is much better. The audio is smooth now. No more choppy sound. Go ahead with the presentation. We can just look at your slides. Great. If it gets choppy again, I will drop off and dial in on my phone. But let's try it this way first. Sounds like a plan. Go ahead. And scene. Okay, Mark, how did I do? Was my bad internet acting convincing? Very convincing. It brought back stressful memories of my own meetings last week. But let's look at the language there. It followed the exact steps we talked about. First, I identified the problem. You are breaking up and your video is frozen. And notice that Mark didn't say, you are bad. He described the signal. Then I acknowledged the problem. My internet is acting up. Acting up is a great phrasal verb we mentioned earlier. It means functioning improperly. People act up, children act up, and technology acts up. Then you propose the solution immediately. You didn't wait for me to solve it. You said, I am going to turn off my camera to save bandwidth. That showed initiative. It showed you were in control. And then I had a backup plan. If it gets choppy again, I will drop off and dial in. This reassures the other person. They know that even if this fails, you have a plan B. That builds trust, even when the technology is failing. Exactly. Being fluent in English isn't just about knowing clear grammar. It is about managing difficult situations with confidence. If you can handle a tech failure smoothly, people respect that. Before we move on, I want to address a quick grammar trap that I hear many advanced learners fall into during these situations. It is the difference between the present continuous and the simple present tense when talking about technology working. Oh, this is a good one. You mean it is working versus it works? Yes. Often when we fix the problem, we ask, is it working now? We use the continuous tense because we are asking about the current temporary state right now. Is it working? And the answer should be, yes, it is working. But sometimes students say, it works. That is not technically wrong, but it works implies a general fact, like this computer works well usually. But in the moment of checking a connection, it is working sounds much more natural. Correct. Also with the negative, if you are trying to share your screen and nothing happens, you say, it isn't working, not it doesn't work. It doesn't work sounds like the computer is permanently broken. It isn't working means it is failing in this moment. That is a subtle but important difference. It changes the meaning from this machine is broken garbage to this machine is having a temporary problem. Exactly. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. We have audio vocabulary, video vocabulary, polite phrases, and grammar points. I want to add one more small but very common situation, the mute button. The classic, you're on mute. I think that was the most spoken phrase of the last 5 years globally. It probably was. But notice the preposition. We say on mute. We do not say in mute or at mute. You are on mute. And the verb is to mute or to unmute. So you can say, sorry, I was on mute, or sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. And please, if you are listening, don't feel bad if you do this. Native speakers do it every single day. The important thing is just to say, oops, sorry, I was on mute, and continue talking. Don't make a big apology speech. Just a quick, sorry, I was on mute, and move on. That is great advice. Confidence is key. Don't let the mistake stop your flow. Now, I want to encourage our listeners to take a specific action after listening to this episode. We always want you to use what you learn. Yes, next time you are on a call, even if the connection is perfectly fine, pay attention to the quality. If there is even a tiny delay, practice using the word lag. You can say to yourself or to a friend, oh, there is a little bit of lag today. Just getting used to the word makes it easier to use when you really need it.
And if you have a study partner, try the role play we did. One person pretends to have a bad connection, and the other person has to describe the problem. You're frozen. You're choppy. It is actually quite fun to pretend to be a robot.
It is. And remember the phrase save bandwidth. If you can use that in a meeting, you will sound like a pro.
Definitely. You know, these kinds of episodes are my favorite because they are so practical. We are not just talking about abstract concepts. We are giving you tools to survive the workday. If you enjoyed this kind of practical workplace English, please consider subscribing to the channel. We are building a library of lessons that help you function in the real world.
And hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. We have some great topics coming up about office small talk and how to disagree politely in meetings. You won't want to miss those.
Now, let's do a quick recap of the main vocabulary before we sign off. I will say the definition, and Mark, you give us the word.
I'm ready for the quiz.
Okay, the adjective used when the audio is cutting in and out, sounding rough and uneven.
That is choppy. The audio is choppy.
Correct. The phrasal verb that means the signal is weak and parts of the conversation are missing.
Breaking up. You are breaking up.
The adjective for when the video image stops moving.
Frozen. The screen is frozen. Remember, not freeze, but frozen.
The noun that describes the capacity of your internet connection, like the size of a water pipe.
Bandwidth.
And finally, the phrasal verb for entering a meeting using a telephone line instead of the computer audio.
Dial in. I will dial in from my phone.
Perfect. Mark, you passed the test. And to our listeners, I hope you pass the test the next time your internet starts acting up. Remember, technology fails for everyone. It doesn't mean your English is bad just because you can't hear someone. Use these phrases, stay calm, and you will handle it beautifully.
That is the truth. Don't panic, just communicate. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's been a pleasure exploring the glitches of the digital world with you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Everyday English Podcast. Keep practicing, keep listening, and we will talk to you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.